All right, back here on Inside Wrestling Radio, and today on the telephone we have the lost son Chrisifix. Chrisifix primarily works for NCW up in Greenville, and he also works for Wrestlers Alliance Revolution, where he's the All-Star Champion, and he's the current NCW World Champion. And he also hosts a radio show of his own, DOX Coast to Coast, every Thursday at 11 p.m., and that's on blogtalkradio.com with his co-host Exodus. Right now, welcome to the program, the lost son Chrisifix. Chris, how you doing, bro?
I'm hanging in there, my good sir. That's pretty good build up here. No pressure. I never got an introduction that good.
Well, you know, I got to put you over to get you going here, brother. You know how it works.
I appreciate it.
But listen, man, you've been making a lot of noise lately in the business, and I've known you for quite a few years, and we've talked about you here on the radio from time to time, man. Always respectful, always a good guy to have in the dressing room, knows the business, and has a good mind for the business. I've always put you over. But you do have some heat out there with some different people, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the program. But right now, Chris, tell people who may not be as familiar with you a little bit about yourself. What got you in the business? Were you always a fan? What was the deal?
You know, kind of your typical story. I grew up watching it, and from age 7, I knew what I wanted to do. And a lot of people don't know my dad's actually a former professional wrestler. Now he kind of runs shows here and there. But so I was kind of early age going to his shows and all this, and something I always wanted to do. Then, you know, after I graduated, I was considering playing semi-pro football. But then a week before I had to make my decision, I was working at a gym in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and this guy came up there and wanted to put up a show poster. I just got to talking to him or whatever, and he had a training school, and worked out quite well. I didn't know it was a training school like 2 miles from my house, so I kind of got started there, and 6 years later, here I am.
Gotcha. What? Now, you said your dad was a professional wrestler. Who was he in the business?
His name was the Gorgeous Golden Greek, and he also did another persona as the Masked Maniac.
And where did he primarily work?
Primarily like Tennessee area, and South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, kind of like the old one big circle kind of thing. Yeah,
gotcha. So you kind of grew up with the business around you. What was his advice to you when you told him you want to get into the business?
He really never gave me any. It's just, I'm not knocking him or anything, but it's one of those things I had to do, figure out on my own kind of ordeals. So I don't know if that's supposed to be a learning experience or what, but yeah, it's pretty much all on me scenario. So I hope everything worked out well with me.
Gotcha. So he didn't try to deter you from getting in or anything like that. He just kind of said, "Go do what you got to do."
Yeah, he's pretty much whatever with the whole situation. So
wow.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, really. I mean, you know, most parents. Or most people I've talked to about it are either one way or the other. They're, you know, either 100% on board or 100% against. And I guess him being in the business, I guess he figured if you got it in the blood, you got to go find out. At least that's the way it always was with me, bro. I mean, once you get a taste for it, you got to go find out what you can do with it.
Exactly. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Now you said you actually started with Viper up there in Hendo. How was that?
It was what it was. I mean, definitely he, you know, obviously is the House of Pain Pro Wrestling School is the name of the academy, if you will, at the time. And it's basically, you know, we got to talking when he came into the gym that day. I went to a couple shows, and it's kind of funny. We made an arrangement. You know, I was a personal trainer at the gym I managed at the time, so I pretty much would train him in the gym. He trained me at the school, and you know, I kind of stuck to my training. He kind of fell down on me after the first couple of days. That's kind of funny. So, but yeah, it was what it was. I mean, it was a foot into the door.
Yeah, I meant to mention in your intro there that you are also a card-carrying member of the conspiracy along with myself, and there's very few of us left around here, Chrisifix. We had a lot of fun doing that conspiracy thing up at HVW. What were some of your thoughts on the conspiracy with JD Costello?
Yeah, I think I wasn't around. I think I had done left the first time from HVW, and I think I was working J Eagle at the time when the conspiracy started, and I think I kind of came back right in the middle. I came back as a surprise. I was someone's mystery partner for a night. But yeah, it was. I mean, honestly, I mean, I like the idea behind it, but you know, when they started coming out the NWO's theme music, it kind of hurt the credibility. So.
Yeah, and of course it was a thinly veiled comparison of the NWO thing, but with JD at the helm, man, and JD's a talent. You know, JD will be. Who was our very first interview a year ago on this program, and I've always had a soft spot for JD. People talk a lot of trash about JD and really run him down, especially behind the thing up in Charlotte. But man, I always liked the guy, and I think he's got a great mind for the business. And I enjoyed doing that conspiracy gimmick, man. I thought we had a lot of fun with it, and the big blow off we did at the Showdown show with Abyss, I thought was really well put together. But it was kind of shortly after that, in my opinion, Viper started kind of losing his mind a little bit up there. Did you have any kind of problem with Viper up there? Because a lot of people have. It seems like for the people who don't know, Viper runs HVW in Hendersonville. It seems that once you start getting a little heat behind you, he don't want to use you anymore. Was that kind of your experience too?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was there probably for a year or so. Then I couldn't, you know, it was pretty much Viper being Viper, and I heard you did this, did that, yada yada, said this, did that. So I pretty much left, and I came back, and it's the old scenario over and over again. So I mean, he rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but I mean, only he knows what goes on in his head. So, but yeah, I'm like you. The conspiracy was fun when it was at its prime, and I mean, one of the things I liked about the conspiracy was even besides they came out the NWO theme, they always kind of held you to a more professional standard. I mean, you couldn't go in there looking like a bum, and they did have the best in the company in the group. So it was fun. I wish we could do something like that sometime later on down the road.
Yeah, I've always had a lot of fun with that thing, and I guess they must have started doing NWO stuff after I had left, because when we were there, we kind of had our own music that was a little bit different. And then we were doing a takeover of HVW thing, and Cruiser Lewis and myself came in one night just on a lark road up there, man, and JD came up with the idea for us to kind of do an invasion angle, and I thought, at first up there it was fun. It was like the old days, man. I was enjoying it. It was a nice little road trip up there for me, and it was just a fun atmosphere. But like you said, man, I don't know what goes on in Viper's mind, but if you got something making money, you got to kind of stick with that, man. And you got people drawing money for you. And I never asked Viper for a thing, man. I always tried to help the guy as much as I could, but it just seemed like when we was getting a little heat on us, he decided, well, we don't need you guys anymore, and came up with the weirdest reasons to get rid of you. Did you find the same thing?
We never got rid of me. I always kind of left on my own will, but I mean, I'm sure there was. I know a few times after when I left, I would hear stuff he would say would get back to me, and I would see him in public, and it was never real professional scenery, to say the least. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I don't want to spend a whole much time on Viper, but I just did want to remind people that we had a lot of fun up there doing that conspiracy thing. And who knows, man, we may bring that thing back on our own one day. If I can get JD back down here, maybe we'll do a little bit of a reunion with me, you, Cruiser, and maybe Big Daddy Z and a couple of those cats, man, and have a little more fun. What brought you to NCW?
Honestly, it was just one of those things. It was when they first started coming, and then I heard a lot about them. A lot of people kept putting them over. Ken Magnum kept trying to get me there for months and months. And actually, what actually got me to make the call was BJ Hancock, a trainee of Abel Adams. Connected to Abel and talked to you, yada yada. And Abel asked me to go down here. So it's Abel Adams. I mean, if he recommends me, I want to go down here and see what it's all about. I did a couple of shows there while Donovan was still in charge, and things really didn't work out for whatever reason. I went back, doing shows here and there, whatnot, trying to stay busy. Then I got the call from Norton Lewis. I may have called him, but anyway, word got out for me to call Norton Lewis, so I called him, and like to bring in, have a look. Remember you working the crowd when I saw you, all that good stuff. And pretty much went and worked Brody Chase my first night, and been there ever since, pretty much.
I've been to a couple of shows. I don't get up there as much as I should, but Norton is a long-term friend of mine, and Brody, of course, as well. Just no two greater minds for the business that I've ever met, man. I mean, those cats know this business inside and out. And a lot of people don't agree with some of the things that they do, man, but, I've always said, especially in Brody's case, when Brody's like E.F. Hutton, man. When he talks, I listen, and Norton the same way. Those guys know the business, and the breaking news out of that was that he and Charlie will be starting a new organization together. Well, I guess they'll be combining forces, as it were, with the old SCW. Charlie, of course, being the promoter of that. How do you think that'll affect you, if at all, Chris?
It's gonna be interesting. I mean, two people working together, where they're Norton kind of doing them on his own with people pitching ideas. Now you're going to have, like a 50-50 kind of deal where people, Norton may like a guy and Charlie may not like the guy, or vice versa. So it's going to be interesting to see how, two promoters working together. Hopefully it'll be, a good trend. I mean, I think we all should help each other out and work together. So it's going to be interesting to see, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be interesting. You're right. And thinking about it from that side of it, two promoters, man, listen, some of the promoters I've worked with, I mean, they didn't want anybody else within 5 miles of telling them how, what they thought. So two promoters in the same building is going to be very interesting. It will be interesting for you guys up there, that's for sure. Chris, we're up on a break right now. When we get back from the break, I want to talk to you a little bit more about some of the controversy you've been having recently on Facebook and with this other FMW. And we'll also talk more about your radio show, DOX Coast to Coast. All that coming up right here on Inside Wrestling Radio with Chrisifix. Coming up next. All right, back here on Inside Wrestling Radio. On the telephone today with us, we have the Lost Son, Chrisifix. Chrisifix, of course, is the NCW World Champion, the Wrestlers Alliance Revolution All-Star Champion, and he also has DOX Coast to Coast radio show every Thursday at 11 p.m. on blogtalkradio.com. with his co-host there, Exodus. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that in a few minutes, Chris. But right now, let's talk about some of this heat you've been running into lately, bro. Up there on Facebook, I read just the other night, you got some stuff going on. I guess you said you kicked off a couple of weeks ago up at FMW with a bunch of backyarders. And also, I want to talk to you a little bit about the angle you shot with Lace a couple of weeks back, too, that got you some heat. Tell me about FMW first, though. What happened up there?
It's one of those things. I think they've been around for 2 to 3 years. I think about 2.5 years. When they first started out, they used to have decent talent kind of things. I mean, people would ask me where to go to get ring time and kind of things. I'd recommend them if they live in the area. But I've been there a couple of times for just to watch my friends' matches and stuff like that. But anyway, it's been a build-up kind of thing because they have a lot of troublemakers in that company. I guess it has with any company, but pretty much, telling rumors, telling lies, making up stuff about me, putting it on Facebook or whatever, because Facebook seems to be the place to shoot these days. So
absolutely, it does. And I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. Before you go further with that, I'm glad you brought that up because, back in my day, so to speak, and I don't want to sit around and sound like a grizzled old-timer, but back in the 90s, bro, in the early 90s especially, there was no such thing as the Internet, not the way we know it now anyway, and back in the day, man, if you talked trash on somebody or didn't like the way somebody talked to you, you went to their show and you handled it man-to-man, and I just don't get behind a lot of this jibber-jabber on the Internet with, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I think one guy, and I don't care to even say his name, but he had actually challenged you to a fight, and all you really were doing, from what my understanding of it, was defending our business and saying, look, you guys don't know what you're doing, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get hurt. But they somehow turned that around to be your fault. How did that happen?
Yeah. It was basically I was asked to come to the show, the last show, and definitely help with a card, cool, whatever. See a couple of my buddies hang out. But it came down because half their guys aren't even trained properly. They don't have gear. I'm talking like khaki shorts, t-shirt,
tennis shoes,
based on a pair of kick pads or whatever. Just it's real lack of gear oriented.
Yeah.
But against everybody's gimmick because they're doing a rebellious thing. So it means I have to wear blue jeans only, apparently.
Yeah, rebellion means no gear.
Yeah. So it came down to it. They have some minors working on their show. They have like a 15, I think a 16, and in this case a 13-year-old kid. They put them up against, a 13-year-old kid is pretty much, here's how to bump kid, protect yourself, throw you in the ring kind of ordeal. But 13-year kid's also related to the motor or whatnot. But anyway, it came down to him, and the kids were like 5'5", 105 pounds soaking wet, and they put him against a guy like 6'3", 6'4", 230 or more. And they came to me for advice, and I pretty much told them it would be stupid for him to do anything possible to you because you're like a foot taller and almost over 100 pounds more. And I'll explain how stupid the whole idea was, basically. But pretty much, okay, whatever. So during the match, the kid lands wrong on some flippy thing with a high spot gimmick.
Yeah.
And basically got hurt, and then due to the lack of knowledge the company has, everyone thought he got shot on, obviously because he fell off a rope by his own wheel and landed on his head. But so that happened, and after the match, it's this big drama, and apparently I get accused for telling the guy to shoot on the kid, which never was the case at all. So, somehow it's my fault that their 13-year-old wrestler got hurt.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that just goes back to the lack of training and the lack of any kind of knowledge for the business whatsoever, bro. When you tell somebody, and you were exactly right. The same thing I had, the same problem I had with APW's booking when they put those two fat females over two full-grown men clean in a match. I told them then, I said, that's stupid booking. It doesn't make sense. If you go out there and do it, you get what you deserve, and that's my opinion, and I stick by that.
Exactly. It was horrible, and after I pretty much, later on told the promoter, look, it's not, you don't have control of your own show. You have kids. Most people guys don't even have gear or isn't trained properly. Your locker room doesn't even have the respect to shake everyone's hands, thank you, any kind of respect whatsoever. There's no psychology, storytelling, or anything there. It's pretty much one of those places that makes you sick to your stomach to make the sport look bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Needless to say, I won't be back.
Yeah, so I was about to say, so I guess you cut your ties pretty much with those cats, right?
Oh yeah, now with the everyone's getting on their Facebook and calling me out to fights and stuff. It's just stupid.
Absolutely. And I think you and I were talking a little bit on email. And I can't say what I said to you in the email, but basically the gist of it was you got to rise above the rubes, bro. And I think you are well versed at doing just that. Chris, let's talk a little bit about the Lace thing. Now, there was an angle up there shot at NCW where I guess Lace took a Chrisifix punch to the face, and you got some heat behind that. What was the deal on that one, Chris?
Oh, yeah, it's just one of those things that I didn't. She was making a match or doing the commissioner role or something at the time. But
yeah.
basically, she told me I wouldn't be getting my way on a certain match, and I pushed toward her, and then she smacked me. Then I just kind of went with natural instinct. So I'm going to hit back, and before you knew it, a woman was laying on the canvas bleeding. So
yeah.
People don't take too kindly to that, apparently.
Apparently not. I shot an angle like that up at HBW one time also, and you can do those kind of angles if you're doing it, to get to a justifiable end, which is where I'm sure you guys were going with that one. But I think to your credit, you saw that they was getting a little bit too real, and you kind of decided it might not be the way to go with that. I don't blame you, man, because some of these people take this, even in 2011, and with everybody knowing what's going on with the business, they still take this stuff very, very seriously, and some people still take it, for 100% real. So you got to kind of temper that with what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even with that, I had people sending me private emails threatening me and saying I shouldn't have done that. I need to watch my back. It's like freaking moron. It's a wrestling ring, and I put it on Facebook. Do you think?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's wrestling. It's professional wrestling. It is, this is what this is. This is entertainment, and it should be taken as such. But I guess, that's that old school mentality, which I guess kind of is a good thing. We all decry the loss of kayfabe, and I guess it's still out there in some form or another, or at least there's some lines that we still, I guess, aren't allowed to cross. So even in an entertainment aspect, I suppose. Chris, tell me about DOX Coast to Coast. How did that come about?
We've been on the air for a little over a year now. It's just one of those things, sitting up late hanging out, and it's like, we should do a radio show kind of thing. It's kind of comments started here and there, and we just eventually signed up to Blog Talk Radio and to do it. And since then, we've had a lot of big guests, and that we do. Now we're working with Go Fight Live, so a lot of other cool things happening. It's fun. It can be stressful at times, as I'm sure you're aware of. It always pays off and it's fun, and it's always good to talk to other workers in the business and getting their opinions and ask viewpoints on stuff. So
yeah,
it's all worth it, man.
And I've listened to a couple of shows there, and like I said, it airs every Thursday at 11 p.m. You guys have had a lot of Ring of Honor cats on there, and that's good. How are you securing those guests, man? I'm jealous because it's hard for us to get anybody over here at Inside Wrestling Radio.
Honestly, it's kind of like, knowing the right people and word of mouth. We did coincidentally, War was doing their first ever show, I think not long before, the radio debut or whatnot. So the main event was myself versus Shane Douglas, and so we was able, since we got you booked, would you mind coming on our shows? He was our first guest, and then later on, other names, Jerry Lynn, a lot of Ring of Honor guys and stuff like that. So it's kind of word of mouth and just treating people well and just, thanking them for their time. It's crazy. I never thought it'd be the size it is now, but it's always fun to get other people's opinions and hear stories of the road and all that good stuff.
When we started this thing, Charlie and I, the main idea was to help get guys over. And I don't know if you found this the way that we have, but number one, it is terrible to have to try to book people because nobody's schedule jobs with yours, and you got to go through that rigmarole to get their schedules right. And then on top of that, when you do run some of these people down, they have absolutely no desire to do it. And I just don't understand. Like you and I were talking before, man. If I was within any kind of distance of a local show that was there to promote indie guys, man, I'd be banging their door down every week. And some of these cats who just don't want a part of it, I really just cannot wrap my mind around it because back in my day, and again I go back to the Grizzle veteran thing, but man, we were out there every week. If it wasn't nothing but standing at Walmart signing autographs, man, we were out there trying to get ourselves over. So for these guys, these guys who don't want to be a part of it, I can't wrap my mind around it. Have you run into that as well?
I can get it either. A lot of people, in my opinion, especially in the Indies, a lot of people are being trained the wrong way and being taught the wrong way. Yeah. And not being, filled in on, knowledge of the board. It's a lot. Even I knew when I broke in, promote yourself.
Absolutely.
And then, it's the only way it's going to get out. I can't grasp people not wanting to be on the radio, do any kind of commercial or any kind of networking. Because your company's not going to do it for you typically. So, it's pretty much on you to plug you and, your event or whatever you got coming up. But I don't get it, man. It's free publicity, and that's what wrestlers are about, getting, people's always. I've been at the same show for years and years, and I never get other bookings. No one knows me. Well, it's no one's fault but your own. You don't plug yourself. You don't network yourself properly. You don't, emails, tapes, and, get radio spots or anything like that. So, it's just people just don't want to work hard for it anymore. It's sad. Yeah,
I think they expect it to be handed to them. And bro, I'm going to tell you, having been around as long as I have, man, nobody's going to hand you anything. You got to go out there and take it. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. Chrisifix, brother, we are all the way out of time here, and I appreciate you so much for coming on the radio with us today. Really quickly, before I let you go, tell us that Facebook page and any other website information you have, and again, plug the DOX Coast to Coast radio show.
Thank you very much. DOX Coast to Coast on Blog Talk Radio every Thursday at 9 p.m. You can find me on Twitter at Chrisifix. I have a MySpace, I never check it, but it's Chrisifix. And
yeah, you're one of the last of the few on there, huh?
Yeah, I have a lot of old pictures on there, and I'm just too lazy to convert them over to a different file, so I just leave the whole account up.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And like you mentioned, Facebook, I just type in Chrisifix, and I should be the only one that pops up. But definitely, if anybody has any questioning, comments, negativity, positivity, just talk to me, people. That's all I need.
Very cool. And you will be appearing tomorrow night at the NCW, correct?
Absolutely. I'm going to cause a lot of shenanigans as I still retain my title and defend it against whomever they choose to put against me. Get your money's worth, I promise.
Whoever they put in front of you, absolutely. And when is the next Wrestlers Alliance Revolution show? When's that coming up?
They're working on a date right now, actually, so that I should know that pretty soon, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted on that.
Very cool. Chrisifix, again, man, thanks so much for coming on the program. Best of luck to you. Continued success in everything you're doing, man. I mean, you like I said earlier in the interview, always respectful, always good mind for the business, and these titles you're holding in these various organizations just shows that you are a true worker, man. And I'm one of the very few who still appreciate true workers in this business. So best of luck to you, man, in everything you do.
Thank you very much, man. God bless.
All right, brother. That's going to do it for the interview portion of the program. We'll be right back here to close the show on Inside Wrestling Radio coming up next.